Welcome to Amintro Family, the podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Sammut, and we hope you're enjoying the free online platform and community for family caregivers, be it through the Amintro Family app or amintrofamily.com, because it's all about helping those caring for their aging parents and relatives or friends, and to connect, share experiences, and access valuable resources. The shared experience is what this podcast is all about. And today we sit down with Hal Johnson, known for his work on TV. You've seen him for decades on BodyBreak with his wife, Joanne McLeod. Hal, it's good of you to join us.
Oh, my pleasure.
I appreciate this. And you're a caregiver. Your father is dealing with illness currently, but both of your parents have lived long and active lives. Tell us about your parents.
Well, my dad is 93 and my mom's 91. And my dad has been active, and he was the number one BodyBreak fan for all these years. He played a round of golf when he was 90 years old. They surprised him on the golf course at Burlington Springs, and they had a camera out there, and they took some pictures of him. But in his 90th year, he played about 50 rounds of golf. So that was, and then in fact last year, was the time that I took him for his last. We hit some balls together at the driving range, so he was still able to swing, and he was, he's a great guy. He's got such a positive attitude, and he's really the one who helped us with BodyBreak from an attitude perspective when we started. So, and I always say my dad is the number one BodyBreak fan. And when I went to him with the idea, I know he had no idea what I was talking about, but he says, "Oh, you can do it, because he's always been that way. So, and now he's been in the hospital now for 11 months and then we've been going to the hospital. I don't live in Oakville, so I live out of town, and I've had to come back. I live about 250 kilometers away, so I've lived with my mom for about on and off through that 11 months for about 6 months of that time. So. Helping her out, and she's very active in terms of physically. She can walk. She walks back and forth sometimes, which I tell her not to, but she walks back and forth to the hospital, which is about 2.5 kilometers away. And being 91 years old, she still gets out there and does it. She doesn't like to take Ubers because if I called them taxis, she'd be okay with it, I think. But because they're Ubers, she doesn't want to get into an Uber. Really funny story.
Well, it is an odd concept, okay? Get in this stranger's car and they're going to take you to where you want to go. It's ridiculous.
Well, I tell you something funny that happened last week. She always wants me to tell her the color of the car and the license plate number. And I have to repeat the number. And I have her on a cell phone. I gave her a cell phone, and I've got her on the cell phone. And I say, "Mom, it's a red CRV. It's coming up." I tell her exactly as it's coming towards her to pick her up at the hospital. And so but one time, she couldn't get the phone working, whatever. And she said, "Well, I didn't really want to get into a car. I did, but what if you raped me or something?" And I said,
Wow.
I said, Mom, don't worry about it. Come on, let's there's other, so, and generally she's not worried about anything. She's, she lives alone now. My dad's been there so long, so she's, very fearless, but anything new. And in fact, my mom and I were having this conversation this morning. I'm at my mom and dad's home here, and as I said, I just took her over to the hospital, and then I'll be going over a little later and bringing her home and to see my dad for a while. But and he's only got maybe a week or two left. And so but it's where he's in palliative care at this point. So it's sad, but I don't know anyone my age, and I'll be 69 this year. I don't know anyone my age that has both their parents. So I feel extremely fortunate and to have them as long. And my dad has never been sick my entire life, never been sick. So he's making up for it the last 11 months. But I said to him, here's his positive attitude. I said to my dad, said to him about 3 months ago, I said, Dad, and I was trying to, saying, do you want us to, end your life in a sense? Do you want us to, because he's on a feeding tube, because he has throat cancer and he's got a trach in, he's on a feeding tube. And I didn't really want to say it, but I wanted to kind of get it out of him. Do you want us to cut the feeding? And so I said, Dad, like, what do you think about all this? Like being here, like, what are your feelings? Like, what do you want us to do? And he looked around and he said, um, well, the people are nice. Um, they've got a Tim's downstairs. Um, yeah, it's okay.
Really?
Yeah, and he had
So
a smile.
cavalier.
Yeah, he had a smile on his face, and he said, what, the spring training will be happening soon. The Jays will be playing, so he like his attitude is incredibly positive his entire life, which has been phenomenal. But the caregiving, like it's interesting. The caregiving has really happened dealing with my mom. My mom has been more difficult to deal with in terms of how tough it is as a caregiver than my dad. My dad, we're dealing with hospital issues in terms of, do you go through radiation? Like all of the hospital stuff, and you've got a team there and, doing their job but dealing with my mom has been much more taxing, both on my sister and myself, because she has, say, early stages dementia. So but she's living in a home, and she, as many seniors, they do not want to move. And I totally get that. And one of the issues we have is my sister wants her to move into a senior's home, and my mom doesn't want to move, and I want my mom to do what she wants to do. So I say that, if she lives in this home for 6 months to a year, let's say she lives here for a year, and then she falls down the stairs and breaks her hip, and then she's in the hospital, and then she passes. I'd rather her do that than live 3 or 4 years in a senior's home that she hates. So I'd
Yeah.
rather to give her one good year, or the year here. She loves her garden. They have a 23 square foot home here in Oakville. Um, and so what I've done as a caregiver, living with her for the last 6 months, I've tried to figure out how do I get technology to help her?
Yeah.
So I've got, from example, like a lot of the things you deal with seniors is, okay, as you get older, they don't eat as much. Oh, and I don't know if you hear that, the chimes that go, but that's an alarm. That's an old grandfather's clock that
Yeah.
goes on every 15 minutes and a half hour. And as I'm here sleeping, at 12 o'clock midnight, that thing keeps chiming 12. I go, Mom, it's killing me. Like what? She goes, oh, I get used to it. I go, yeah.
Yeah. She's tuned it out.
Yeah, but 3 in the morning, it's bang, bang, bang. So, needless to say, as a caregiver, I'm not getting much sleep with that
I guess not.
grandfather clock going on and on.
I
But
guess not.
as I say, food is a big thing for seniors. So what I tried to do, I tried to figure out, okay, how can I get my mom food? Well, I found this company, and again, we're not making any promotion for them at all.
This isn't
And
an official endorsement. This
no,
is just us talking.
this is not a BodyBreak endorsement, but it really, every night my mom eats the meal, she goes, I hope this company doesn't go out of business. They're so good. The
Yeah.
meals are so good. So
Yeah.
it's a company called Factor Foods. And the meals are really delicious, and they're like $12 a meal, and they're
Yeah.
delicious. And they come. I actually order them. They have about 30 meals to choose from, and they're all microwavable. And I order them, like 3 weeks in advance, so that you can look and you figure out what your thing. It takes me about literally 5 minutes. I order her dinners, And on Monday, they deliver 7 meals here for her. She goes and picks them up at the front door, puts them in the fridge, and she has not complained about one. She has said that these are absolutely delicious. So I know as a caregiver, I've got dinner taken care of. Um, my mom has raisin bran. She wants raisin bran and yogurt for breakfast, and she has that. So and then I've switched her, and she really likes it. I've switched her to oat milk, and the reason that's important is oat milk has a long shelf life. It has like you can have like a month and a half to 2 months of oat milk in the fridge. So the best before date is can be 6 to 8 weeks old. That's important for a caregiver because you're not having to go every week and get milk for the person. So
That's
the
right.
less trips that I can do or have to have delivered, the better. So I can go buy the oat milk that she needs, and she has the raisin bran and yogurt. So I stock up the fridge with all of that stuff. And then for lunch, she loves muffins, and it's her treat. So I get her these muffins, Metro muffins that she likes, and then we put them in the freezer. And so I've looked at, and then she'll have like and I went to Costco and got these breads that she likes. So she has the bread with something on it for lunch with a yogurt and her muffin and a tea. So as a caregiver, I've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner taken care of, and she likes cookies. Um, she's got a little sweet tooth, so I've she's got about 4 months worth of cookies in the pantry that I put in there. So it's like I go, okay, your meals are taken care of, so that end of things is
Yeah.
done, and that's often a big thing.
Yeah, well, and using technology as you've talked about, really planning ahead and being proactive in terms of the everyday care, which is a challenge for you, as you talked about, given the distance, the 250 kilometers that separate you and your parents' house on most times when you're not there. How has it been to because we've talked, of course, off air, we're friends, and we talk often, and you've told me about, hey, I've installed these cameras and I've done this, and my mother didn't like that and she had to get used to that, and I had to convince her about this, and she actually doesn't know about this, and there's a lot of stuff that you've done to make sure that she's getting the best care that you can provide. How has it been for you from a distance to be a caregiver to your parents?
Well, I think as all caregivers would say, it's exhausting. It's I say I'm a caregiver between my dad at the hospital and my mom when I'm here. But when I'm at home, I'll check in with my mom. What I ask her to do is make a list of things, make a list of all the things that you need, and so uh, and then I will go on to Instacart and order the stuff in when she needs to have it done. But I think what I found in this process is and I think it kind of came to me in December that is don't with her dementia or her memory loss happening, don't correct her. Don't do the constant correcting. And I found that I know one of the reasons that you would correct her because you almost think that you're trying to fix her,
Yeah.
and it's almost like you're angry. Your tone of voice is one of frustration, and I found that I think that part of that is that you're sad. You're sad that she's no longer the way she was, and that you're angry that that has happened. You're not angry at her. You're angry that it has happened. So you try to um, try to say, that, or try to do that, that I'm not, you know, like for example, this morning, my mom said on the list she had toilet paper, and I know I bought at Costco about a month ago a Costco size amount of toilet paper,
Right.
like 60 rolls,
Yeah.
at literally 60 roll pack, right? And I go, Mom, unless you're using this every day, two a day, there's toilet paper in the house someplace, right?
Yes.
And I try to make a joke of it, and we found the toilet paper. I know that makes her sad. I tried to make a joke of it, but it makes her sad that she knows that she forgot that the toilet paper is over in the other closet.
Yeah.
Those sorts of things. So it's, um, I try to have have fun with or joke about stuff, but I also understand that that for me it's a sadness that I got to and a frustration.
Yeah, that's right. With my dad, and I lost my dad to Alzheimer's a few years ago, and you you quickly learn that you have to live in their world because you're just punching yourself out in
Hmm.
trying to correct them, and they're upsetting them as well. And we've talked in the past about how you talk with your mother, like you told me before about those meals and how every time she has one of these meals, she'll walk over to you and she'll say, "Boy, Hal, this food is incredible," and she'll tell you the same thing every single day, and you have to react the
Right.
same day, the same way every single day.
Yeah, and all I'm thankful for is she likes the meals.
Yes.
Like every day the meals might be different. So she's saying, so I look at it that she's telling me this meal, the chicken
Mm,
parmesan is, oh, it's just delicious. Oh, it's so good. But she says, oh, the vegetables. How do they make the vegetables so good every day and the variety so here's someone telling you something positive, so you can't be negative about their happiness, right?
yes.
So, and I've looked at it, again with my going through this with my dad, is that grab the moments that of happiness, right? So as opposed to you're in this bad situation, but there's a little bit of happiness here. So my mom, who's distraught with her partner passing of
Yeah.
almost 70 years. Yeah, it's she just these meals make her happy. So for
Yeah.
that 15 minutes of eating that meal, and she keeps saying, "Oh, I got to slow down, got to enjoy it. I eat too fast. I'm just because I really enjoy these." I go, so I know that every night at 5 o'clock she's going to have enjoyment,
Yeah, and
uh,
she looks forward to it.
and she looks forward to it, and that's
That's
big.
right.
That's about life. So once again, going back as a caregiver, it's like, okay, what can I do? Like during the winter, she walks on there's a path that she walks on here. So during the winter, she can't walk on the path, and she loves her walking. So I took her up. I joined her. She's not a social person. She doesn't like groups or whatever. But I had her join a group in downtown Oakville. I took her to every Tuesdays to this 1 hour walk that she would do in this relatively small arena around, and it was okay. But then I discovered the Milton Cycling Center up there, the Mattamy Center, the cycling velodrome, which is huge. And they have these indoor cycling events and whatever, and they've got a big, beautiful track up on top, a huge track. And so I took her up there, and she really enjoyed it. And she
She was
really,
cycling?
no, she was walking on the
Walking.
track
Okay.
up
Okay.
top, but she was viewing the cyclists that were the
I
indoor
see.
cyclists that were down below.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she really enjoyed that. Now she would never ask me, "Can we go up?" But I say, "Mom, do you want to go up?" She'd go, "Well, okay." So I would, do that, and then I, I, I made gave her one of my old iPhones, and I showed her there's an accessibility thing that you can do on an iPhone that you can basically dumb an iPhone down. It's in settings, and you go in and you can basically make it so that it is basically whatever you want on screen, and there's no security code to open it up or whatever. So I've just got my phone number, my sister's phone number on it, music, and essentially that's it. And,
Yeah.
and
Basics.
and find me, so she can find she likes to track where I am, kind of thing. So see where I am. So she got that on the app. So the music's on the app. So I have that, and I put a playlist, and so on that phone only has a playlist of the Bing Crosby's, Nat King Cole's, Harry Belafonte's, all of the stuff that she grew up with, Dean Martin's,
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra's, all of that stuff. And so
Yeah.
she'll be listening to that. So the funniest thing is when I walk behind her at the track, and so that the runners or what, nobody would kind of bump into her, and she's walking in her lane and the walking lane, and I'm behind her, and she's got a headset on, and she's listening to this music, and she's walking around the track, and I'm looking at her, and I go, "Oh, that's at first it's funny," and then she starts to sing
Oh,
because
really?
she's got a headset on. She doesn't realize, and I did it my way. It's like it's like, so I'm just laughing at it behind. But again, for that time, she's she's reminiscing. She's enjoying herself. She's living, and I think that's like, it was coincidentally, we're talking today. Yesterday, we went up and we cut my dad's feed. We because he's really incoherent. So it was the point where we go, okay, well, he's really, for quite a while, his quality of life has been not good. But he never told. It's funny because he told us a couple of conflicting things when he was in the hospital. One is he didn't want his family to suffer. He didn't want to do it to himself. Basically, he didn't want to, to kill himself. He wanted to go naturally. He didn't want
Yeah.
MAID. But he said um, so and so he said he didn't. So we're kind of struggling with, okay, do we cut the feed, his feeding tube? Because if we cut the feed, he's going to die within a week.
Right.
So we're keeping him alive. It's not like, let's say he stopped eating on his own and he just then he which many people with cancer they do. Um, we were feeding him. So,
Yes.
but yet, like he doesn't communicate really that much when we go in now, and so it's like. But the major thing I was thinking, and I talked to my sister about this, and I talked to a doctor, was this is killing my mom. And I think my dad wouldn't want my mom to, but it's been tough. The last 11 months on my mom has been very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So I said, yesterday we decided, but I said to my mom, and this is a big thing about with seniors that I have learned, um, is that so many things become out of their control as they get older. You have to give them as much control as possible. Every time that they can make a decision on something, let them make the decision. Let them have control. We're driving them. We're doing things for them as we're helping them, and and that's the frustration as a caregiver. Everything you're doing is coming from, I'm trying to help. Like, this isn't my life. This isn't what I want to do. I want to do other stuff. This isn't. But so, and yet they kind of lash at you um, for doing it, and they're angry because you're taking away their control. So when the doctors, asked us as a family, what do you want to do with your dad? I turned to my mom and I said, Mom, this is your decision.
Yeah.
I said, this is your decision. I have an opinion. Lynn has an opinion, but our opinion doesn't matter. You were with dad for 70 years. Um, you know, it's your decision. And I put it upon her. And again, she's cognitive enough and to make those decisions. Right. And
Yeah.
so, and she said, it's time to let him go. And
So she,
so,
yeah, that must have been rough. That must have been really tough for her, and tough for you all to hear as well.
yeah, for me, and not as much. I mean, in my eyes, my dad died about 5 months ago.
Mm,
Again, we all come to it at different points in the whole,
yes.
but he passed, 4 or 5 months ago, for me. So it was, it's difficult. No, there's no question, but um, but I focus on what I can do, and so what I have to do is and deal with is my mom as the caregiver. I've got to. So my thought process is, and again, I have a life with Joanne,
Of
and
course.
so you kind of you're torn between the two worlds, right? Of helping out and doing what you can. But my mom is a loner. Like she doesn't want. Um, like I've found a person to come in every Thursday who's just magnificent. She deals with people in the later stages of the and families of people dying and so forth. And she's come in, and a woman's name is Dee, and she's absolutely terrific. But my mom goes, "Is that woman coming over again? Like, why is she coming here?" I said, "Mom, she's coming here because." Do you enjoy her conversation? She goes, oh yeah. I said, well, and Dee gives me, he kind of calls me and tells me how it went after they talked for an hour. I said, well, why wouldn't you? Well, I don't want to waste her time or whatever. I said, Mom, you're interacting with somebody. It's good. I said,
Right.
I'm not going to be here like all the time. Like, it's
Yeah. It's
like,
someone different, and your mother might tell her stuff that she's not going to tell you.
yeah, she will. Although, yeah, she just seems to she doesn't want to engage with other people. I think it's a shyness more than anything else.
Mm.
But she does it, yeah, it's difficult, right? So with my dad was the gregarious one and my mom is not.
Right. Right. Like my dad would never want to be invited to a party, and he would dread going. But then once he was there, he had a ball. Like
Uh,
and then afterwards he would go, that was great. He just didn't it was the social anxiety that really got to him leading up to it. But once he was there, he was fine.
My mom is exactly the same. You put her in a
Yeah.
situation and she was like, "Oh, hi, oh," and it's like, and it's, but I don't know. And then she, my mom lays this thing on me, which kind of threw me for a loop. It's like, well, like they've made plans. The crematorium they put like 20 years ago they put their funeral stuff all together, paid for it. It's all done.
Mm.
But my mom says, she goes, I never thought about this stage, right? I never thought about this, because I would like 3 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I'd talk to him. I said, Mommy, talk to my mom and dad. I say, have you guys thought about, where you might go when you can't stay in the house anymore and this and that? Oh, no, 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 we're going to stay here till, we drop. No, I go, well, that may not be your choice. Like you may, no, no, we're going to stay here. So they've never thought about about this stage of their life. And then she says to me, she goes, well, gee, now she says, I always thought I would move in with you or your sister. And I said,
Mm. So she's thought about that. Yeah.
I said, well, you never mentioned that to us. Like, like that would have been nice. Like, and then mentioned it to my wife. And I said, Mom, but here's the thing. If you have to move in with us because you can't stay in the house alone, how can then you stay in my house without me there? I travel. And Joanne and I travel for business
Together.
and together and
You
pleasure.
work together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how am I? What's going to happen? We've got two dogs. I mean, the fact is, if you can't stay in the house, um, like that means that you're at a point where you can't function as well as you could. And we got two dogs. You're gonna let the dogs out and like boom, they're gone, and you go, oh, I mean, it's like I'm trying to think about you know the
Sure.
the logistics of it. I said
That's right.
it doesn't make sense. Either that or we have to bring in a 24-hour caregiver for you, or when we're away, like it. That's why a seniors home, and again, my parents, were fortunate enough. I mean, they neither one of them ever made over $50,000 or $40,000 a year, but they saved like little chipmunks, and they have a nice home here, and they've been able to save their money. So from going into a senior's home, once you sell the house and whatever, they'd be able to. My mom would be able to stay in a place for the rest of her
Right.
life
Well,
easily.
and I know you're going through a lot with your dad right now. We're talking at a very critical time, uh, as far as your dad is concerned. But with your mom, uh, despite what she may or may not want, there is her safety that you are considering as well, that you and your sister have to consider, and that you are considering. So do you feel that you're being proactive instead of reactive in terms of her care? Because obviously she has an illness that is not going to get better. Like I felt like with my dad and his Alzheimer's, the saving grace for us was always be one step ahead. Uh, do your homework, do your research, because when he does finally reach a stage where he cannot live with my mom anymore, she cannot take care of him because they'd both be in danger, that he would have a home to move into because of the waiting list being so long. Do you feel like you're being proactive in that regard?
Yeah, we're looking at different places, putting a list together and visiting them. And I visited a couple of them. But to give you an
Mhm.
idea, my sister set up an appointment for us to go down to a place called Churchill's Place in Oakville. This was about 8 months, 7 months ago, or something like this. And so I was here, and my sister was out of town. My sister again has three homes, and she travels a lot as well. So and she's just got a granddaughter in New York. So
Yeah.
she's going to New York. She's got a place in Florida. She's got a place in Muskoka, and then lives here in Oakville. So she's moving around a lot. And
Right.
so she happened to not be in town, and she told me, she said, "Can you take mom down to Churchill Place so she can go and take a look at it and see what she thinks about it?" And that's a senior's home. So I took her. I said, "Mom, we're going to Churchill's Place on Friday. We're going to go down and have a lunch. They're going to give us a lunch, and we're going to take a look at this place, see what you think." And she goes, "Well, why?" I said, "Well, just to see. We're just going to see what it's like." So we walked in, went in. Nice person, nice lady. Had a nice lunch, and then she took us a tour of the play different rooms, and then tried to do the sales close in a sense. Well, what do you think? Maura, do you think this would be a nice place? She goes, "Why would I want to come here?" And she was angry at my sister for setting something this up. Why would you take me there? Why? Now the thing is, my mom cannot visualize herself there. And the
Yeah.
reason, as I mentioned before, she walks 2 to 3 kilometers a day. When you
Hmm.
walk into this seniors home, you had, you know, the lineup of walkers in terms of the walking assistance, strollers that are needed. And
Right.
so you've got all these seniors that are using walkers to move themselves. She can't visualize herself. That's not her. That's not her peer group. That's not who she
Right.
is. That's
Right.
she's not disabled, physically. So she doesn't. She goes, "Why would I come here?" And it's a prison to her.
Sure.
And um, I can't disagree with her. I mean, like honestly, Jeff, when you go into those places, I, which I mean, there's some very nice places, and I'm not talking about, say, Ontario, the housing ones that are, say, less expensive. Like even the more expensive places, I want to run as fast as I can out of those places because it's
I
it's
know what
like,
you mean.
it's like my mom said to me, she goes, "So you're putting me here to die?" And I go, "Well, no, we're trying to make you safe." And this is where I, have this battle with my sister is that, and I said earlier, is that I'd rather her live 1 year on her own happily than 3 or 4 years in a place that she just felt it was like a prison.
Yeah.
And
I felt fortunate with my dad and his Alzheimer's, and this sounds, I don't know, this sounds kind of awful, but the good thing about his Alzheimer's was he wasn't aware that he had it. And uh, when we did move him into a full-time care facility, we dressed up his room with his chair that he loves and some photos and everything like that. And when he walked in, he saw his chair. I was the one that brought him. Like I remember the day where I took him to his a center that he would go to once or twice a week, just to give my mom a break and to
hmm
engage him. And that day I took him to the center, and then I wasn't going to bring him back home. I was going to bring him to the full time care facility, knowing that he was going to be staying there and he wasn't getting out. And that was a tough thing to do. That was one of the hardest days of my life, knowing that. But what we did was I got great advice from a friend of mine that had gone through that and said, dress up his room beforehand so that when he goes in, there's going to be a lot of things that he recognizes that's going to make him feel like he's at home. So that's what we did. And he walked into that room, he saw his chair, he sat down, he put the TV on, and it was as if he was home. And I felt like, boy, I had all this anxiety about how he was going to react and how awful that was going to be. And he didn't give me any of that. The anxiety that I felt and the emotion I felt, he was oblivious to it. So I was fortunate in that respect. And I was like you, where I thought, I can't see my dad living here. My dad has always lived in the house I was born in. I
Right.
can't see him living anywhere else. So your mother might graduate to a point where she gets to that stage where she honestly doesn't know she's not at home anymore when you take her there.
Well, she said, in fact, today she says she hopes she recognizes when she can't live here anymore.
Oh,
And she said, I hope I can recognize that.
yeah.
It, I don't know if she will, but it's, I mean, there's little things. I mean, we have, put in power of attorney and those kind of things to handle some financial things. Really more so, I think it should be called assistive attorney, because what we're trying to do is assist her. Like I still, like when her certificates came up, I said, Mom, what do you want to do with the certificate? Do you want to put it lock it in for a year, or do you want to put it on flexible, whatever? She goes, well, I'll just lock it in for a year. I said, okay, that's fine. Well, that's what I was going to do anyway, but I go, let's, give her what she
Yeah.
wants to do. She goes, do I need the money? No, Mom, you don't. Okay, well, let's lock it in for a year. Okay.
Yeah.
She made that decision.
Yes.
I could have made the decision because I've got the bank I'm on there, and I've, but it's giving them every opportunity to make decisions.
That's right. That's right. So, what would you say as we go on our way out? Because I could hear the bells chiming. What?
We're gonna get 12 now. It's a lot, and the thing is, it's off by 3 minutes. Like it's
It's like it's
I,
12:03.
it's 12:03. There you go. Here we
Those are
go.
the chimes for 12:03.
Yeah.
So, what part of caregiving would you find the most challenging? And in there, any advice for caregivers that are listening right now?
Um, I I would say the toughest part is coming to the point where you go, um, you're not angry. You're not angry that they're not the way they used to be. Um, uh, and again, I think it also depends on the parent. If we were to switch parents, just like if you were to switch your mom and dad, your mom went first and your dad was at home. Um, it changes the dynamic. My dad is so easygoing. Like my dad is so, like, if my mom had been gone, uh, had passed away first, my
Mhm.
dad would go. He would say, "Okay, whatever you want, like wherever you want to put me, whatever you want to do." Um,
Yeah.
My mom also did all of the finances in the house. My mom did all the work in the house. My dad didn't do any stuff. Yeah, like he didn't do.
So you would just take all that over.
Yeah, well, yeah, so my mom is used to taking care of the house, right? So
Yeah.
um, I'd come in the house like a year and a half ago. I'd come in the house, and as a team, they're vacuuming the stairs with one of those one of the vacuums that you plug into around the house.
Right. Like a
Uh,
handheld.
yeah, but it's a handheld, but it's a one that you plug in. Different rooms has a, what's it called? Not a
Yeah.
shop vac,
Like a
but a
central vac.
central vac. That's it, the central
Yeah.
vac.
Yeah.
So they've got this central vac hose going down the stairs, and one of them's holding it at the top, the other one's vacuuming, doing the thing.
Yeah.
Um, and like my sister wants to get somebody to come in and clean the house. My mom doesn't want anybody coming in and clean the house because that's what she's done all her life, and her house is
Yeah.
clean. And
Right.
so I said, and my sister says, "Oh, the house is filthy." I'm looking around. I go, uh, I don't think so. Now my sister, like, the place looks really clean to me, but I got two dogs, so it's my
Yeah.
standards might be a
Right.
little,
In
maybe a little.
comparison.
And my sister never cleans her house. She has someone clean it for her every week. So that's
Yeah.
that's her. And
Different
so
lifestyle. It's
different
what you're used
lifestyle,
to.
did what she
Yeah.
used to. But I look at the house and I go, yeah, maybe there's a little grime in a corner or something, but this is my mom's house and this is what she takes pride in.
It's
And
exercise for them too.
it is. So, but as far as, I guess, advice, I guess I'd look at the way I've done it. I guess I wouldn't give everybody advice. The way I've muddied through this, just as you muddied through it with yourself,
Mm.
is that you is try to be patient, and it's hard when you're really tired, and that's the tough part. And so
Yeah.
try to be patient and try to, I would say, one, let them make as many decisions as possible. If it's whether instead of just giving them a glass of water, hey, mom, do you want water or do you want juice? Let them make that
Right.
decision. And
Right.
because every decision is taken out of their hands. Like in my mom, and they're resentful for it. For example, my sister took care of taking my mom and taking care of her taxes, my mom and dad's taxes. So she set up the appointment with H&R Block. She took all the stuff. She got all. My sister took care of all of that end of things, and yet my mom was resentful, saying, "Well, why is Lynn doing that?" I go, "Well, mom, do you want to do that?" Well, no. But well, that's why we're doing it, because the government just says just because you don't feel like doing it, we still got to do it. She go,
Yes.
and so my sister said, because we have power of attorney, my sister said, well, let's. My sister was going to sign for it, although my mom was going to the meeting, and I told my sister, I said, no, mom has to sign that. It's her taxes. If you sign it, she will be really angry. She'll be resentful. You've got to let her sign the taxes. You did all the work with everybody. Let her sign it.
Yeah.
And so my sister, for some reason, thought because she has power of attorney and the legal ramifications or whatever, I said, no, let her sign it. I
Yeah.
said,
She can do it.
yeah. So and so my mom is perfectly aware of things. And if I thought that she was a harm to herself, I would be more pushing to put her into a home. But that, again, even the phrasing of that, putting her into a home, you're warehousing your parent, and that's not something that I want to do. But this isn't easy. Like, you feel
No,
there's
it's a moving target.
yeah. And
It's constantly moving.
every situation's different too. And that's the one
Yeah.
thing, is that, for example, if my dad didn't have a trach, he would have been out of the hospital and be able to go into a long-term care facility. But because he has a tracheotomy in the throat, the no long-term care facility or a home will take him. So we had thought about moving both of my parents, and my mom was open to this, both of them going into a home at that point. But now she doesn't. So it's
Mhm.
a I'm and then, as I say, try to balance. and not feel guilty, and I think that's the thing, is that try not to feel guilty about, living your life. And I've tried to
Right.
tell my mom that a couple of times. I said, um, Mom, this is your life. This isn't my life, right? I'm, uh, I'm here to help as much as I can, but it's not my life. And I'm your son. I'm not your playmate. Like, I can't be over here every day because
Yeah.
and to play with you and to,
That's right.
to take you to, so you got to learn when Uber shows up at your door, and I can track exactly where you are on the app because I ordered the Uber for you, and um, it's okay. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. It's like we said, it's caregiving is just this moving target, and it's there's a lot of responsibilities. There's a lot of emotion that's involved that you have to acknowledge. At some point, you have to find the time to do that and find the time to rest as well. And this is an extremely busy and difficult time for you, Hal. But we really appreciate your joining us and sharing your caregiving journey. Hal Johnson, best to you and to your whole family, to and especially to your parents, Hal. Really appreciate it, pal. Thank you.
well, no problem. And it's very timely, I guess, in terms of point that it's happening, right now, and in the middle of it. So from an emotional perspective, it's coming from, exactly how I feel. I'm not kind of remembering how I feel. I'm feeling it now, and
Yeah.
I guess the big takeaway for me is I am really tired. And
Yeah.
so what
I know.
really tired. And so what I've, again, going back to the whole body break roots of what we have been spouting about, I joined a gym down here to work out when so I've got into a routine of working out every day.
Good.
But it's the
You got
emotional
to keep feeding
exhaustion.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to keep feeding yourself so that you can deal with everything